All right. Hello, friends. It looks like I'm live, but it always takes a minute for everything to catch up with me. So I am just going to wait for YouTube. Oh, and there we are. Let me get it muted so that we don't have any weird echoing going on. Well, hello, friends. Welcome to our Tuesday card making live. Excited to be here with you guys. I'm just making sure everything looks good. Okay. All right. Well, I see a couple of you in the chat already. Hello, Misty. Oh, it's exciting that you ordered this. So hopefully you'll have some fun ideas for once it arrives. Hello to Laura and Wendy and Lee. Oh, and yay, Lee got her order. That's exciting. Hello, Mary and a different Lee. And there is Heather. So Heather is moderating today underneath the Pinkfresh Studio name. So that's who you're chatting with whenever somebody answers under Pinkfresh Studio. Hello, Wilma and Leah. Hi, Holly and Zomara. All right. Well, people are finding us. I'm going to hot foil, so I need to turn my hot foil system on. But we're going to give this about 5 minutes for people to find us, for my hot foil system to heat up. Got it. That definitely has to be a part of the process here. And we'll just go over a couple of things while we are waiting for everybody to find us here and before I actually get going on today's card. Hi, friends. Love seeing you all in the comments. Thanks for joining us today. And that's awesome, Lee. You can craft along with me if you want to. Hopefully you are on the mend from your dental stuff, I hope. All right. Hi, friends. Good morning. I guess it's technically noon here, so I guess we're in good afternoon here in Minneapolis. All right, so before we get going with our card, as we're waiting for my hot foil system to heat up, let's just go over the couple things that we always go over in the beginning of our lives. First and foremost, welcome. We're so happy you're here. If you're a first timer in our lives, we would love for you to let us know in the comments and then we can welcome you. I'm going to give a big blanket welcome right now because once I start creating, I don't see as many of the comments come through. Heather is there though, and she catches a lot of what I miss. But I just want to say hello and welcome. And if it's your first time here, we're so happy you found us. And we hope that you enjoy what you see and that you'll keep coming back. Now, we give away a $15 gift card code at the end of every live. So all you have to do in order to enter for your chance to win is what you're already doing. Chat with us in the live chat. Every comment you leave is an entry into the giveaway. So you can ask questions, answer questions, chat about the card, chat with your fellow card makers. This is as much about connecting with fellow crafters as it is about getting inspiration and learning how to use our products. So keep that live chat going. And Heather will pick a winner at the end of the live today. And I think I see a first timer. Welcome to Joyce. We're so happy that you're here. Now an extra entry into the giveaway. So underneath the video, there's a button. It has an arrow and it says share next to it. Click that button and share somewhere. Could be, you could share it to Instagram, Facebook. Maybe you have an email or a direct message that you keep with crafting friends. Share it there and ask them to join us. Or if there is a crafting Facebook group that you know allows sharing of videos, feel free to share it there. Just make sure it follows their group rules. There are some groups that don't like that. So make sure you know the rules of your group. Come back here in the comments, let us know you shared, and that's an extra entry into winning the $15 gift card code at the end of the live here today. So still waiting for my hot foil system to heat up, but we thank you guys so much for sharing. It's so helpful to help people find us and all of those things. And then one final thing, not an entry into the giveaway, just something that helps the videos reach both now and while on replay is if you could just give it a thumbs up. That is super helpful to us and we appreciate it so much. Well, Wilma, is wondering if she should add a hot foiling system into her card making supplies or not. Well, today is a great day. We're going to foil, so you can see what you think when we get going. We're just waiting for my hot foil system to finish heating up. So, all right. All right, friends, I think I am going to, we're still waiting for my hot foil machine to heat up, but I think I'm going to just switch my camera around and we can take a look at the products that we're using today until it's finished heating up. So let's do that really quickly. There we go. Sorry. There we go. Thought it wasn't going to change for a minute. My goodness. Okay, so we are using the Art Deco Floral Arch set today. There is a matching cling stamp. I am not going to feature the cling stamp at all today, but the great thing about it is if you don't hot foil, you can create the card that I'm going to make today very similarly with the cling stamp. Since I am going to be foiling in gold, you could always heat emboss it in some type of gold to get a very similar look. So for today, we are going to be foiling with my go-to. I haven't used it in a long time because I feel like I was neglecting other foil rolls. So I've been reaching for other foil rolls, but I'm going to go back to my tried and true workhorse foil that when I learned to foil, this was the one I reached for all of the time because it never failed me, and that is Aura. It is gold foil with that kind of iridescent rainbow finish to it. So my hot foil system is heated up. The way that you know that is the platform ready button turned on and it's green. So that was off until the system heated up fully. So let's go ahead and grab our Art Deco Floral Arch. And we're also going to go ahead and foil both sentiments. We'll only use one sentiment today, but we might as well foil both so that there's never a problem with having extra foiled sentiments, I don't think. They can always be used on a card. So, all right, we've got those situated. I think I've left enough room for dies. Okay, now we got to hit the timer button. And so we are basically waiting for the timer button to stop blinking. It will become solid, and that is when we know the machine has heated up the press plates. These are technically press plates. I think I called them foil plates. Um, when that stops blinking, that is telling me that they are fully heated up. So if you're new to our products, we are now sticking with press plates when we do our product suites. And the reason being is because they can be used for both hot foil and the better press letterpress system. And we love when a product is dual purpose. So you will see press plates in our product suites, going forward. Anne is asking me if this is a new hot foil system. It's still the Spellbinders Glimmer hot foil system, but it is a newer one. And so I think they updated the color and the font on it. So I think it is kind of a second generation of the same hot foil system that I have been using. All right, let me put these guys aside. Timer button has gone off, so I'm going to grab my die cut machine real quick. And I don't have the biggest workspace, so I am going to do what I can to show you as much of the process as possible. Now that the button or the timer button is off, I'm going to move this over just a little bit so that we have a little bit more room for my die cut machine. Now on my new system, it's much easier to remove that platform from the base, but I still like the premise of removing it first before I do my sandwiches, just to avoid any shifting or anything of the foil. So I'm going to start by doing that. I'm going to remove that platform from the base, and then I'm going to put the foil gritty side down, and then I'm going to add my cardstock. This is 100-pound smooth white hammermill cardstock. And then I'm going to put the two shims that come with the Glimmer system, the thin shim and the spacer pad. That green frosted shim is the heat resistant shim. So that's the one you want to put closest to the heat source. And then I'm just going to gently run it through my die cut machine. I don't feel the need to go back and forth on these. I'm just going to run it through the one way. And let's see how our results were. All right. So hopefully you can see here. Oh my goodness. And it is just perfection. I got a tiny little bit of overfoiling here and there, but those will rub right off. And then we're going to cut away the little bit of overfoiling that happened up there. So not a big deal. And just look at how stunning that is. I just love it. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to be using the solid foiled version today. So I am just going to turn off my hot foil system and let these cool on the side. I will foil the solid piece or the leftover foil later with the solid hot foil plate. But just for the sake of time today, because I don't plan on using it, I'm just going to stick with this one piece here. Oh, thank you, Janine. Right, it is so much easier to remove the new one. I'm super thrilled about that. All right. Just making sure while I was foiling, I didn't miss any important questions. I think we're good. I feel like I missed a question on Wilma asked, does this work on a Sizzix Big Shot? I believe so, Wilma. I don't have a Sizzix, but I am pretty certain that it does. Okay, I need to grab my ink stands. Give me 1 second to do that. Actually, I think I might just need one. And let's grab the stencils. I have to remember where I put everything now. Here we are. So this is just a 3-piece stencil set. And we are going to do some ink blending. So Heather and I have been up for a while. We taught independent retailer class bright and early this morning. So I've got some tape left over from that class that I'm just going to go ahead and use to hold all of my stuff in place here. So it's been an early day, but a good day so far. All right, so if you are new to our stencils, they are numbered in the upper left corner. I'm trying to find some glare here for you. They're etched. So if you're, pardon me, if you're having trouble seeing that, some tips is you can rub Sharpie or nail polish or something of the sort into those etched numbers. And that works. You can also number your stencils with a Sharpie, but keep in mind that if you're cleaning them with isopropyl alcohol, that will clean it off. But you can always put a piece of clear tape over top of that Sharpie numbered as well. So then there are also alignment guides in each corner, but those are for if you're using the stencils by themselves. I am using them with the foiled image. So I'm going to align them with the foiled image, and I'm just going to ignore those alignment guides in each corner. Now, these are really thin little areas, but they align perfectly and easily with the hot foil plate. So or the hot foil design. So just take your time to align them. All right, and for this lovely kind of arched halo around the flowers, I'm going to reach for an old tried and true color that I don't seem to reach for much anymore, and that is Coral Reef, probably one of my favorite colors ever. So I'm also going to use one of our nice, big, beautiful brushes to help ink blend it in. And then I may come in with a smaller brush to add a little bit of gradation here and there. But I'm finding, as you'll notice, I no longer have the splint on my wrist anymore. And my wrist is feeling really great. And I have noticed that these bigger brushes are actually helping me with that part of my wrist because it makes ink blending go a little bit quicker. And I don't have to do as much work when it comes to the ink blending with the bigger brushes. So I am definitely loving these larger brushes. So we are going to start just by getting color into these areas. We are going to cut this away, so I do not care if I get a little bit of ink around the edges. We're going to use the die cut to cut it all away, so not a big deal if you get some ink, if I get some ink on those edges there. Coral Reef is a pretty light color, so I don't really feel the need to blot it off all that much. Mostly it can take it direct to paper and it's going to look fantastic. Yep, my first ink love, Coral Reef. All right, so then I'm going to grab my Coral Reef 1/2 inch brush. So here's the difference. So these are our 1 inch brushes, and this is our 1/2 inch brush. So just to show you the difference in size here, great for getting larger areas blended in. But I'm going to come in with my little 1/2 inch brush, and I am going to add some gradation just down at the very bottom, just to deepen that a little bit, add a little bit more depth to the blend here. Okay. All right. I think that looks pretty good. I have to find my dry cloth. There it is. So I am going to buff this clean. Oh, we love hearing all of the love for the brushes. We love them as well. So we are excited that you guys are as excited as we are, because we are just utterly thrilled with how they turned out. Michelle is asking how we clean the larger brushes. I don't clean them any differently than I do my other ones. And all I do is spritz a little bit of isopropyl alcohol onto a dry brush and just buff them out a little bit like that. They're instantly dry, so they can be used again, but that cleans them right up. Okay, let's grab stencil number 2. Stencil number 2 is the greenery or the leaves, whatever you want to call it. Once again, it aligns pretty easy. Okay, so we are going to start this one with sage. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did the last time. I'm going to use my brush that I have deemed the Green Gables brush for now. And I'm going to start by blending sage into all of this greenery. Got a little deep there in the middle, but that's okay because I was planning on coming in with the next shade up of eucalyptus anyway and doing a little bit of gradation. So we'll just add some more there anyway, trying to keep the outer areas a little lighter. Sage can come in a little bit deeper toned than that coral reef. So I am blotting it off a little bit more and not putting nearly as much in my brush. Okay, I feel like that's a good start. So, but now I'm going to grab eucalyptus, which is the next shade up in those greens. And I'm going to grab this brush. Now I'm going to do a quick clean on this brush because I'm not completely sure what the last shade of green was that I used. And just in case it was spruce tips or lush forest, I just want to buff it out, buff it clean, because I don't want those deep tones in my eucalyptus ink pad. So I am just going to buff out any color in case the last color I used was one of those deeper tones. It might not have been. It looks like it. I probably used eucalyptus, but hey, we're just being on the safe side here. So now my brush is nice and clean, and I won't run the risk of getting any of those deeper tones into my eucalyptus ink pad. So Gail, I think that depends on the way that you blend, but what I have found for me is these actually help keep my wrist in a more neutral position versus bent. So I think it really depends on the way that you blend. For me, they do feel a little bit more ergonomic than the other types, but I think it really depends on how you ink blend. So they've been great for me in my wrist injury, but really truly, I think it just depends on how you ink blend. All right, so I'm going to take the eucalyptus and we're just going to add some gradation into some of the areas of these images. Not too much, just a little bit. And we're going to do that pretty much to all of the areas. Oh, hello, Barb. I see my friend Barb has jumped on. She might have commented earlier, but I haven't seen all of the comments come through. Oh, I got that leaf a little dark, but it's okay. I've also done this with our little small 1/4 inch brushes, which actually I think I might grab that for these little tiny tykes here. We're just using all of the brushes today. It's a good demonstration of using all of the different sizes. So this is our little tiny guy. This is our little 1/4 inch brush here. And what these are great for are adding that depth and gradation into really small areas. I just love that. You've got different control levels with all of the different brushes we carry now. Like these guys are so tiny. And normally you wouldn't be able to get much gradation into them. But with these little tiny brushes, you can get at least a bit into them, which I just love. Okay. Great. Feeling pretty good about that. And then I think I'm going to just come back in with that bigger brush and just use up the little bit of ink that's left over on the stencil and just add it in there. Okay. Now to our final stencil, stencil number 3, which is going to blend in all of the flowers. So I thought that these flowers looked a little bit like roses. And so I chose reds for my flowers today. We are going to start with passion fruit. And I'm just going to use the 1/2 inch brush for these ones because they're pretty small. Oh, welcome, Nolan, another first timer. So I'm going to start with passion fruit here. And this is just going to be the start of the flowers. And I'm going to blend it, pardon me, throughout most of the image here. Okay. That one got a little deep, but that's okay. Because I think we're going to come in with some candy apple on those ones anyway and make them quite a bit deeper. So passion fruit was just the start. Okay. Feeling pretty good about that. Now I'm actually going to jump up 2 shades up to candy apple. And we are going to add candy apple. Now candy apple is a very deep red. It is going to bring these roses to life. And I am blending deeper at the base of those roses and then lightening and trying to keep it lighter towards the top of it. I think Tina asked a question, do you have one large brush per color family or more than that? Tina, currently I have one. I'm just waiting on my shipment to come in for the rest. I'm going to do the same thing that I have with my smaller brushes, which is basically one brush for the lightest tone in the color family, and then another brush for the other three. Right now I'm just trying to keep them as clean as possible while I'm waiting for my final shipment to come with those. But that is the general plan, is to have two brushes per color family, one for the very lightest shade, that very, very pastel shade, and then one for the other three. All right, I'm going to grab a 1/4 inch brush and I'm going to come in here on these little smaller blooms so I can add some gradation into those too. And then I think I am just going to pounce candy apple into those small ones just to make them a little more pronounced. Those ones I'm not going to worry about too much gradation. And then I'm just going to grab any excess ink and just further the gradation on those larger flowers. No need to waste ink on your stencil. You might as well blend it into your image, right? So we are, I think, officially done ink blending, at least our image here. We might do a little ink blending on our card base, but we have at least this part started. So let's take a look at how beautiful our traditional roses turned out. Aren't those lovely? I just think they turned out so fun. I wish you could see I wish the foiling kind of glinted a little bit better. I must not have there we go. Isn't that so pretty? Oh, thank you, Barb. I appreciate that kind comment. Hi, Julie. Okay, so I will clean my stencils a little bit more extensively when the live is over. But for now, let's get our image cut out. I just really love how this turned out. It's so soft and pretty, but bold at the same time. Ah, goodness. Okay. So I'm going to grab my well-used cutting plate here and the die set. I think I'm just going to cut out the floral piece first, and then I will cut the sentiments out afterwards. But I'm probably going to use my smaller die cut machine for that. So let me get this nice and lined up. I might need to put this a little down closer to me here so I make sure I line up that top part as evenly as possible. And I keep talking about how my eyes are getting older, so things have to be closer for me to make sure I line them up properly. Okay, looks like everything's nice and even. Now this die has kind of a lot of moving parts to it, and it is a little bendy. So I'm going to tape it down, I think, in quite a few places. I just want to make sure it's not going to go anywhere on me or shift. Hopefully not shift when it runs through my machine, all the things. Especially these little side pieces here. Okay. Probably a little bit of overkill at this point, but hey, might as well. All right, I'm going to run this through my machine and I will be right back with it. All right, now we got to take off all of those pieces of tape. I want to make sure I don't accidentally get any of the sentiments. So be careful when I take these top pieces off. Wilma is asking, do we ship to Canada? We sure do. But you really can do either. I believe we do have some companies that stock our product in Canada. So I think you have both options there. All right. Let's see. Oh, that turned out just lovely. I think I can use that tape again, but these ones are definitely done. So let's get this removed from the paper. There's lots of pretty intricate parts, so just be a little careful when you remove it. Don't want to bend all the little leaves and greenery and all that fun stuff. All right, and look at how fun that turned out. Isn't that just stunning? All right, I think I got all of those little middle pieces out, the little chads. And there were some still left in the die, or a couple, so I'm just gonna give it a nice smack. Hopefully get those out. There we go, got them. All right, let's grab the foiled sentiments. And I'm gonna just get these kind of trimmed down here because I'm gonna die cut these with my smaller die cut machine just to save some wear and tear on my plate. I'm not completely sure which sentiment I'm going to use. I think I'm leaning towards the thinking of you. But I might die cut them both first, and then once I figure it out, I'll probably come back and die cut a couple extra layers of whichever sentiment I want to go with, but I'm just not completely sure yet. So let's go ahead and die cut out both sentiment options just in case one works better than the other. I am going to use my little guy for this. That should work. Okay. Oh, thank you, Laura. It is a unique design. Um, it wasn't like my favorite when I first saw it, but then I used it on this card. I'll pull it in here for a second. I used it on this card for the release, and I absolutely loved how it turned out. So I was excited to foil it. I wanted to use completely different color scheme than this card so that they wouldn't look the same at all. And I am loving the foil and the daintiness of the foil. I think it's so pretty. So um, it definitely was one of those designs where I think I had to see it and I had to use it first, but it is definitely very lovely. And then let's cut out this second sentiment. Like I mentioned, I think I'm leaning towards the other one, but I like to have options. So, and at least when it's cut out, I know what it will look like on the card. We definitely now are a bit spoiled with dyes for our sentiments for sure. That lined up. All right. Oh, hi, Anita. Thank you. I'm glad you're loving this. I think it's going to turn out really fun. I'm going to do something a little different with it that I'm excited to showcase. Okay, we aren't done die cutting because I do want to die cut the cover plate die that we came out with this week as well. Excuse me, last week, not this week. But I'm going to cut it directly from my card base, and that is the Charming Stitched Florals. So we have our sentiments, we have our Art Deco Floral Arch cut. Let's grab, I just did a white card base because I think I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending at the bottom. But how beautiful did this turn out? Great thing about it is it doesn't have a cutting line along the edge. So you can put it right onto an A2 panel and cut it. You can put it right onto your A2 card base and cut it as well. And you don't have to mess with those cutting lines. Or you can even cut it on a larger piece of cardstock and just you kind of got to find where it lines up and grip in there. But you can oftentimes do that as well. So something to think of. I am just going to cut it directly from the front of my card base. So let me get my cutting plates here. I'm going to line it up upside down, but I can see a little bit better this way. So I am just using my card to line it up, and then I'm going to tape it into place securely. I don't want it to slip when it goes through. Maybe I'll get this bigger piece of washi tape here. And you'll see I'm actually taping it down to the plates so that hopefully nothing will move and shift when I run it through my machine. And I will be right back with the results. Hello to all the friends just joining us. No problem on that. We're glad that you were happy to join us for a portion of it. And then, of course, the replay will be available right after we're done here. And look at how lovely that is. Went right directly to your card base. You could always do it on a panel if you don't like having the design on the, when somebody flips open the card. That really doesn't bother me at all. So saved me some cardstock there, and it's going to be lovely. But I think that turned out so pretty. Isn't it just charming? Being funny. I'm gonna grab a drink of water and then we will get going on our card assembly. So I am going to use this design a little bit differently than it was probably intended. But the other day I grabbed this card, but I grabbed it and it was upside down. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what? This makes me think of like when you hang flowers to dry. And I chose roses because a lot of people will dry rose petals and put them in, make them into a tea or use them, there's lots of reasons to use um dried petals. So I just thought that popping this up and hanging it this way, they looked like roses drying. And then you have this really fancy oval piece that they're hanging from. So I'm actually going to use the roses upside down to make them look like they're drying. And then our sentiment is just going to pop down here somewhere. But I thought that that was such a pretty um, idea. Someone asked me a question, Chuck, Leah, do you have a Gemini too? I do have a Gemini too. That's what I cut all of these with. Yes, an atrium, like definitely like hanging from a ceiling or hanging from a vine. So you don't always have to use them in the intended way, which is this way. I thought that this is going to look lovely hanging. So kind of a fun idea on that. This part is going to be probably the most painstaking part, but we got to do it. Let's go ahead and chat while I add my foam strips to all of the pieces here. So this is probably going to take us a little bit of time because we have a lot of areas and I don't want them to sag. So I am going to be adding quite a bit of these strips to my card to make sure it stays in place. Okay. We will just start putting these strips basically all over the place here. Right. but I think it's going to look really fun hanging upside down. Okay. And I think if I add these to a lot of the areas like this, I think that it will get pretty sturdy here. I don't think it's going to take too long to make this nice and sturdy. Okay. We'll do the same thing up here. We're going to run it all the way from the top, tippy top to the bottom. And then in the corners here for good measure. Goodness. Like that. Okay. Let me see. I think that's going to be pretty good. I am actually going to add just a little bit of reinforcement on the side of the bigger rows. And then I think we'll be good. Okay. uh, for the strips Leah is using. So Barb, these are pretty thin. I don't know their exact dimension. They look like maybe an 1/8 inch. So these are pretty thin. These are ones I don't think I would use for a shaker unless I doubled them up. I think I have done that for a shaker card, but they're pretty thin. So I would probably double them up for a shaker or find a thicker size, but they're perfect for just popping cards up. So now I have to decide, I want to add just a tiny little bit of ink blending to the bottom of my card base in one of my lighter colors, either coral reef or sage. And I'm trying to decide, I'm leaning towards coral reef because we have that up at the top, and maybe just a nice little blend of coral reef at the bottom will help that sentiment really pop. And especially since there is so much green, I think I answered my own question. I think I'm going to go with coral reef. Barb, if you look under the favorites tab on my website, they are linked there. So you can definitely find them there if you're searching for the thin strips. And I will say that if you do that, make sure you pick the 5.9 inch. It will default to the 3.9 inch ones, but the ones I use are 5.9. Okay, so let's make sure this is the bottom of the card. I'm gonna grab some coral reef here. I don't want it to be really heavy, so I'm gonna do a nice light blend. I can always add more ink to it, but you can't take it away. So I'm gonna start light and go from there. And just blend it a little ways up the card. Not the whole way, mostly just at the bottom there. Just to add a little bit of color differentiation for that sentiment. I don't think I know that song, so I can't say that I have ever heard that in my head when I'm using these ones, Kathy. It's probably quite funny. Okay, let's see how this looks. Ooh, that is pretty. Okay, I think I'm gonna do just a tiny bit more of a lighter blend just right here. Fade it out a little. And we're doing pretty good on time. Okay, there we go. I think that's lovely. And I think coral reef was a good call. And then my thinking of you sentiment can go somewhere. Could be grateful to call you my friend. I'm not completely sure on that one yet. All right, definitely done ink blending now. Let's go ahead and adhere our floral arch to the front. And then we can start making some decisions on the sentiment placement, which sentiment, all of those fun things. Enjoy the rest of your day, Rita. So happy you could stop by for a little bit and hang out. You got to see most of it. So, and we will look forward to you watching the rest of it in the replay. Ooh, fun. Kathy's in Madagascar. That's super fun. Yeah. I actually haven't reached for coral reef a lot lately, with our new colors that came out last year. Gosh, I say new colors. They've been out for a year now, friends. Can you believe that? It's funny how quickly time flies these days. Oh, not in Madagascar. She's watching Madagascar, the movie. I totally did not read that comment correctly. My bad on that one. Okay, so this is it's a little bit fussy. So I am actually going to adhere it upside down because I can then get it adhered at the base and then take my time to make sure it is adhering correctly. There we go. And look at that. Oh, I think that turned out so fun. Okay, I just love it. All right, as for sentiments, I think I'm still going to stick with thinking of you down in this corner, maybe overlapping a little bit so that because I'm going to add some jewels coming out of the flowers. So let's go with thinking of you. I am going to cut a couple of additional layers for stacking purposes. I think we're good on time. I will just save the grateful to call you my friend for a different card later. As mentioned, you can never have enough sentiments. Gail, the arch is at the bottom, but I thought that they looked like hanging flowers. So I decided to do it a little bit differently for my card today. And I think that they look pretty both ways. So kind of just a spin on another idea or another way to use it so that you get lots of design options out of your card. Thought that they looked like flowers, like hanging to dry or hanging from an an archway in your garden. Fun stuff like that. Great. I know I have some scraps over here, so let's grab those. I am not, I always use up every little bit of cardstock that I absolutely can. So, grab this guy, and let's get a few layers cut here. Kind of does have a little bit of a Beauty and the Beast feel, Elise. I didn't even think about that. But I agree with you. I think that's a very accurate description. Right. And I'll go ahead and just cut two layers out of this, and then I will be done with this um, little piece of scrap here. Yes, Debbie, that's actually another good way to think of it, like a wedding arch. And then you could switch out the sentiment for like a congratulations or something along those lines. And this could totally be a wedding card as well. Lots of fantastic ideas that you guys are coming up with. And Jane just pointed this out, and I was actually kind of admiring that while I was looking at it. Look at how perfect the cover plate die worked with this. Like all of the little elements kind of just are in like the exact right spot. I love that. I love it when things just work out. Okay, I've got enough pieces there. This tape is not as sticky anymore, so we're just going to go ahead and toss it. Let's get our sentiment layers glued together here. Hi, Deborah. So glad you're here. Just gonna put some dots of glue. Not too worried about it being fully covered. I got a little too much glue in one area. I think it's gonna seep out, but that's okay. it'll get on my fingers and I'll clean them off afterwards. Right there. Yep. A little bit on my desk, which I hate. So let me buff that off. I can be a little bit lighter handed with the glue this time so it won't get everywhere. Okay. And I figure normally I just do 3, but I had enough room to cut out another section there, and I figure I would rather not waste it. So we are just going to do a nice sturdy 4-layer stacked sentiment here. Okay. Oh, thanks, friends. I'm glad you're enjoying this. I think it turned out so lovely. Turned out better. Sometimes you never know. You don't know what to expect when you're doing things live, but I think it turned out so nice. All right. So for this, because we are going to put just a little bit of foam tape underneath the sentiment to help it stay, because we're kind of putting it over top of this right piece here. You could obviously use less foam tape than I have if you want to make the card a little bit more friendly, mail friendly, sorry. But I'm not going to worry too much about it. Right, so, oh, that did not cut off at the right spot. There we go. But I can probably use this little tiny tike here, right there. And let's see. And just needs a little bit of reinforcement to keep it up. And I feel like that will probably be plenty. Yeah, that will be perfect. And then we can add a little bit of liquid glue just to the side that's overlapping the arch part. Thanks, Jane. Okay, and I'm just gonna add a little glue on that guy. Let's glue our sentiment in place here. So pretty. Okay. All right. As for the bling, these are not linked in the video description because I hadn't made my final color choices yet when I was doing the list. So you'll have to forgive me on that. But I have decided on glitter drops. And we have the ombre glitter drops, which are sparkle and shine, which are kind of the like gold and silver mix. But I feel like the silver looks a little more like white. So I think they work really great on cards with gold. Now, glitter drops, you can't do the shimmy shake to flip them over in your triangle tray. They're too flat. So you do have to kind of painstakingly flip them over. And then I've got the blush glitter drops and I think these are leaf glitter drops. And I think I have kind of a fun idea for these. I am definitely a fan of glitter drops, and I don't think I've reached for them recently. I feel like I've been doing the clear drops a lot and the newer gold dust ones. So felt like it was time to kind of return. So I have kind of a fun idea with these. I want to, not as too big. So we're going to go with the smaller. And I want to do like the jewels kind of dripping from the flowers. So extending where they're already kind of hanging. So let's see, that was mid size. I think I might need to flip. There we go. There's one that's flipped over. And then green. And then a teeny tiny little, one of the little tykes in blush. Those are always the hardest ones for me to flip over. So just like that. And then I think sorry, this is where I'm always a little quiet because I am trying to, I'm going to do them from these little dots that are right here. They're already, and he flipped over, just flip over. And I'll extend them from these guys because they've already got kind of a place to put them on that cover plate. I'm going to start with pink or blush, and then I'm going to go to green. Green is going to be the middle on all of them. That one has a little extra piece on it I don't love. Where are the little second to smallest guys in the green? I might have to get back in the packaging. There's one. Like that. Gotta find one more here. Well, I will go in here and I'll find one. Let's see. There we go. Got it. There's that guy. And then a little teeny tiny from the Sparkle and Shine. I thought this was just an interesting way to add the glitter drops. I think that's pretty fun. Yeah, little glitter drop drips. It's a good way to say it, but it's also a mouthful. So I don't suggest trying to say that 10 times really fast. Audrey, glad you're joining us for the last couple of minutes, and no worries. It'll definitely be available for replay not long after. Okay, I think we're going to call that good. And let's get these glued in place, and then we're right at our hour. Okay. I think that, well, I definitely had, this is a very different way of using the set. Ooh, don't want to stab myself. I think it turned out really fun. And I hope that you are inspired to find different ways to use your sets. It's obviously beautiful in its intended form as well, but there's something fun about doing something a little different as well. Okay. Right. Use my little poking tool, craft pick, to get those aligned nice and straight. And one more down here. I'll move this down a little bit. There we go. So it's not tucked underneath the flower. A little bit more in the detail of that cutting plate. There we go. It's kind of like adding a glitter drop petal to that little cutout there. Okay, there we have it. Get these closed up here. Thank you, Heather. I definitely would have missed a winner if while I was gluing the bling. But there is today's card. So for reference, there is like the intended way, and then here it is upside down or hanging more as an arch or a vine archway. So I think that they're super fun. A super fun set that you can use multiple ways. Now I see Heather posted a winner, so I'm going to scroll up. I am going to change my video real quick. And I'm going to say congratulations to Michelle. You are today's winner of the $15 gift card code. Now we've made a couple changes, so you're going to email Heather to claim your prize. The email is heather@pinkfreshstudio.com. she spells her name as it sounds. So be sure to email her, give her 2 to 3 business days to reply, and she'll get that gift card code over to you. So congratulations on winning. And thank you everyone for joining me today. I hope that you had a good time crafting and chatting with friends in the live chat. And I hope I've given you another fun idea for using the new Art Deco Floral Arch product. So that is everything we have for you today. We will see you next week. I think it's Heather. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's Heather next week. And I will most likely be moderating in the comments. So you guys have a great Tuesday and a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Bye, friends.